This pre-recorded episode of Leisure World Direct features former Executive Director Jessica Sedgwick, who is no longer with the Golden Rain Foundation. It also features GRF Interim Executive Director Dave Potter, who is introduced by his former title, Executive Manager of Mutual Services. And with that, let's start the episode. You're listening to Leisure World Direct. I'm your host, Emma DiMaggio, GRF Communications Manager. I'm joined by Executive Director Jessica Sedgwick, Executive Manager of Mutual Services Dave Potter, and Senior Director of Facilities Mark Weaver. Hello.
Hello, hello.
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 Today's topic is speed humps and or bumps. To start, Mark, can you describe the difference between a speed hump and a speed bump?
Sure. So basically it's the width and the material. So a speed hump is much wider, and a speed bump is more abrupt, and it's a shorter distance. So around here we've gone with the speed humps. Kind of makes the fire authority happy, and they'll approve that much easier.
So a speed bump is that one when you're going over it too fast, you get a really bad
bump.
Really bad bump versus a hump where if you're still going over it really bad, it's not quite as bad.
Correct.
Still don't want to be speeding over it.
Exactly. And the speed humps also have distance in between the widths of it, and that's basically for the emergency vehicles to straddle and go around so they don't have to slow down quite as much.
Yeah.
But only for the emergency vehicles.
Only for the emergency vehicles because of the width. Their width of their tires are set up for that.
My understanding is that the speed bumps and humps also, because of how they're designed, have a different intended speed that they're slowing you down to. So one will slow you down a little bit more than the other. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know if that's completely accurate, but it kind of works. The speed bumps, you definitely want to slow down more because they're more abrupt feeling, in your vehicle. As where the speed humps, you're kind of grazing over the top of them because you have that wider distance in between the start and the finish of the hump.
How many speed bumps does Leisure World have, if you know?
Right now, we just put in 5. And we had an existing one over at the swimming pool area. So total of 6.
What's the purpose of the bumps? It may be obvious, but...
Yeah, basically just to slow traffic down.
The speed limit in Leisure World, as is posted all around, is 25 miles per hour. How did GRF or the city decide on that number? Is it arbitrary?
Well, the state of California states that residential areas are 25 miles an hour, and we are considered residential.
It's in the best interest of drivers and pedestrians to keep people driving at or below that speed limit. We have the physical humps and bumps. What are the other ways that GRF is helping to slow people down?
Well, recently the GRF board has approved radar detection signs. And those have been put in various areas of the community where we have experienced troubles with folks speeding. And they give us, along with letting the driver know, they give us information and data as to where those speeding occurrences take place.
Yeah, that data has been very helpful to us. It can show us on average, on a day, how many people are going 25 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, 30 plus, 40 plus. I think there's been a couple of times we've seen on certain streets 50 plus. And we've been able to really gather the data since putting them in. I think we've had them in for, a year now?
About that, yeah.
About a year, and can really see where those problem streets are. And we can use that data to help us determine a potential new area for a speed hump.
That was my next question. Are there other ways that you can quantify speed besides the kind of stagnant radar signs that I know tell your speed around the community?
Well, the first go-round of the first 5 speed humps that we installed was on the recommendation from security. As they're patrolling, they see a lot of this, and the recommendation was in those areas. Going forward, currently the committee is Jessica was saying, the committee is using that data from those radar signs and determining where it would be most appropriate to put the new speed humps.
So they're not, when residents see the speed humps, sometimes they think that they've just been chosen at a random spot. I know a lot of people see speeding outside their homes and might think, why isn't there a speed bump in my area? Are there plans to increase speed bumps around the community, or are you being more targeted?
Well, the facilities committee currently is taking that data that we just talked about, and they're looking at areas where speed humps could possibly be installed to help keep that speeding down.
So with our radar speed signs that we have, luckily we're able to move them around. They're solar powered, so we don't have to worry about any electrical or anything. So we're able to move them to those different locations to see, where we're getting a lot of complaints. Let's go ahead, let's put up those radar speed signs. Let's take a look at the data and see, is this a constant issue? Is this just an every so often issue? And see what it is and if a speed bump is warranted.
Does GRF have a mechanism for ticketing people who are known speeders? If someone sees someone in their neighborhood with a license plate that they recognize, typically going 40 miles an hour, is GRF the enforcer there?
So currently, right now, Golden Rain Foundation has allowed the city of Seal Beach to come in and patrol. So that's where the ticketing would come from vehicle code standards or standpoint.
Yeah, I believe the GRF got the city back in maybe it's between 2017 and 2019. I want to say 2019, but before I was here, worked with the city to get an ordinance in place to allow for that process. So for this police to come in here and speed and ticket for speeding, and then at the same time allow us to have our golf carts on these roads. That was kind of the little caveat that we had to do. If we wanted them to come in, we had to make sure they also still allowed our golf carts. But yes, ever since then, they've been coming in and ticketing for speeding. So GRF does not do any enforcement for speeding. We do not have a current mechanism in place for us to handle that. We do leave that up to the City of Seal Beach Police Department.
Okay. Is there any mechanism for residents to share with the GRF problem areas or their thoughts and feelings on the location of speed bumps or signs?
The best way to do that would be to send correspondence to the facilities committee. Then they can take a look at that, discuss it, and like we were just talking about, maybe it would justify placing one of those radar detecting signs in that location, and that could provide us with information that possibly could come to installing a speed hump in that location. That'd be probably the best method to get that information to the Golden Rain Foundation.
I have one last thing I want to touch on, is that some people want there to be more traffic signs or more reminders that we're a 25 mile an hour community. I know that there's some at the beginning of the gates. They're kind of scattered around the community, but some people want all sorts of traffic signals to be implemented. It's my understanding that someone came in at some point and made a recommendation that we not have an abundance of signs. Can you speak to that?
Sure. A few years back, we did have a traffic study, a community-wide traffic study, where the traffic consultant basically said, you guys have too many signs here. And what they're saying is that it takes the vision of the driver off those signs when they're removed, and lets them see the road more clearly. We just had an overabundance of signs. I think there was some 169 signs that were removed during that project. And one of those signs were the pavement signs that said 25 miles an hour on the pavement. And they just recommended that we have at each entrance the mile per hour that is allowed in the community.
And this was part of I always forget the acronym, the
CAMUTCD.
CAMUTCD.
And I'm going to try and remember that.
It's not a very great acronym. You can't even pronounce it into a word, can you?
Having to do with traffic,
Some best practice.
best practices, and we're certified with our streets, correct?
California Municipal Unified Traffic Control Devices.
Excellent. So we are essentially certified, if you will.
We are. We're certified through the traffic study that was conducted and through the state of California.
And I believe we had to do that as part of getting the police to come in here.
That was one of the reasons that the study was conducted, yes.
So part of it, too, is we want to continue to remain in compliance with those standards so we can continue to have the police come in and write tickets for speeding and moving violations.
Okay. Is there anything else that you think would be important to mention about speed in Leisure World?
You know, just slow down, take your time. You never know what the other person's doing. So it's just, it's a good idea to just stay the 25 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really picking up a whole lot of time if you're speeding in the community, a few seconds.
Yeah. Go at a leisurely pace, if you will.
There you go.
This has been Leisure World Direct.